Hello everyone. Good morning. Hope you all are quite okay and fine. Welcome you all to my today online class. Before going to start my today's lecture, first of all, I would like to introduce myself to all of you. My name is Mohammad Ghulam Morshed, designation lecturer, Department Biology, Milestone College, Uttara Dhaka. Today I am going to discuss about your first chapter, that is animal diversity and classification. In this chapter, I will be discussed some important characteristic feature of various kinds of different types of phyla and the basis of classifications. Here actually different types of animals have different types of characteristic features. Now actually today's class I will discuss about basically some important basis of classification here. uh, the learning output after completing this lesson, students should be able to tell the definition of basis of classification, explain the principle of animal classification. Now let's discuss about the basis of classification. First of all, the important criteria used in classification is called the basis of classification. Actually, in animal kingdoms, each and every animals or species are actually different from each other. But during the classification, some special characteristic features will be focused here, and this special characteristic feature is actually called the basis of classification. And these are the mainly germ layers, body size, number of cells, symmetry, coelom, metamerism, presence or absence of vertebral column, habitat. These are the main basis of classification. Now, first of all, I would like to discuss about the symmetry, one of the most important basis of classification. Uh, what is symmetry? Symmetry is the balance distribution of duplicate body part or shapes within the body of an organisms. Actually, in the animal kingdom, there are 5 types of symmetry. Now, let's discuss about uh, these 5 types of symmetry one by one. Uh, the first, the asymmetry. Asymmetry means when the body of animal cannot be divided into any equal halves along any plane passing through the middle or central point is called asymmetry. Actually, porifera and the adult gastropod are asymmetrical animal. You see here the Pylaglobusa, which is under the phylum Mollusca, and this animal is actually asymmetrical because this animal cannot be divided into two equal half along with any axis. Now, the bilateral symmetry. Bilateral symmetry means when the body of animal can be divided into identical left and right halves along only one plane is called bilateral symmetry. Bilaterally symmetrical animals are grouped into the taxon Bilateral. Bilateral symmetrical animals, look at the figure here. This is the figure of the Homo sapiens. Uh, if you see minutely, then you can easily understand that if mane, if it can be divided into left and right half just only one plane. Now the radial symmetry. Radial symmetry, when the body of animal can be divided into two equal half along any plane passing through the central axis is called the radial symmetry. Animals with radial symmetry were classified in the taxon Radiata. If you look at the figure here, you can easily understand that uh, actually the body can be divided into two equal half along with any axis or more than one axis. Echinodermata and Nidaria phylums, uh, the member of the Echinodermata Nidaria phylums are mainly radial symmetrical animals. Uh, this is the example of the Asterias rubens, which under the phylum uh, Echinodermata. Now let's discuss about another important symmetry, that is the spherical symmetry. In spherical symmetry, the shape of the body is spherical. Lack any axis, the body can be divided into two identical halves in any plane that runs through the organism centers. And these types of symmetry is actually found in the radiolarian protozoans, uh, such as Volvox globator. Now, the symmetry, actually asymmetry is mainly found in the sponges, which under the phylum Porifera, and the radial symmetrical basically found in the Cnidarian phylum, and the bilateral symmetry is mainly found in the flatworm, mollusks, annelids, roundworms, and arthropods, Echinodermata, and Chordata. Now let's discuss about another very important basis of classification, that is coelom. But what is coelom? The space between the alimentary canal and the body wall, which is covered by peritoneum membrane, is called the coelom. Actually, the coelom, presence or absence of the coelom, uh, the animals are classified into the three types. The acoelomate in the embryonic stages of this animal, mesodermal cells completely fill the blastocells. In the adult, the body cavity filled by mesenchymes and muscles, forming no coeloms. Phyla, animals of the phyla Platyhelminthes and Nemartia are actually are acoelomate animals. Now the pseudocoelomate animals. In the embryonic stage of these animals, mesodermal cells line the outer edge of the blastocell. If you look at the figure here, you can easily understand that actually embryonic stages, during the embryonic stages, the the blastocell's outer edge is actually covered with mesodermal cells. But in the adult stage, this body cavity is actually not lined by mesodermal peritoneum tissue, forming a pseudocoelom. Animals of the phylum Nematoda, Rutifera are actually examples of the pseudocoelomate animals. Now the eucoelomates. Eucoelomates are actually uh, it is called the true coelom because the in the embryonic stage of these animals, the mesodermal cells completely fill the blastocells, but forming a solid band of tissue around the gut. Uh, these types of coelom are mainly found in the phylum, in the animals of the phylum Mollusca, Echinodermata, Arthropoda, Echinodermata, and Chordata. Metamerism. Metamerism is the phenomenon of having a linear series of body segments fundamentally similar in structure, event resulting in series repetition of unit subdivision of ectoderm and mesoderm products. Actually, metabolism, uh, in the animal kingdom, some animals are segmented because their body is uh, composed of numerous segments, and some animals have no segmentation is found. Uh, so, depending on the metamerism, the animals may be divided into three types: absence of metamerism. In case of some animals under the phylum Echinodermata are actually don't have any metamerism. Uh, if you look at the figure here, the this is the animals under the kingdoms under the phylum Annelida. This is called the similar or homonymous metamerism. When the each and every segments are similar in structure and shape, and this kinds of metamerism is actually called the homonymous or similar metamerism. And these types of metamerism or true metamerism is actually found in the phylum Annelida. Actually, both external and internal metamerism is actually found in the Annelida phylum. Dissimilar or heteronomous metamerism. In case of arthropoda, the body is actually segmented, but each and every segments are not similar in structure, and these are dissimilar in structure. And these types of metamerism is actually called the heteronomous metamerism. If you look at the figure here, you can easily understand that this body is actually segmented, but each segment is not similar in structure. That's why these types of metamerism is actually called the heteronomous metamerism. Tagmatization is the specialization of the body region in a metameric animal for specific functions. Each of the distinct body region is known as tagma. If you look at the figure here, you can easily understand that in case of arthropod animals, their body is actually segmented or metamerism is found here, but each and every segment is not similar in structure, and some segments of the body are fused together to form a specialized body part to perform a specialized function, and these particular regions is actually called the tagma, and these types of tagmatization is mainly found in the phylum arthropoda. If you look at the figure here, you can see that in case of prawn, which under the phylum arthropod, the body is actually divisible into three distinct regions, that is head, thorax, and abdomen. But in case of crustaceans like crabs, this body is actually divided into two distinct regions, that is cephalothorax and abdomen. But in case of arachnids like spider, the body is divided into two, two tagma, that is prosoma and opistosoma. Now the polarity. The polarization of the body parts of an animal on the basis of mouth and the head position is called the polarity. The end of the body which bears head is called the anterior end, and the opposite one is called the posterior end. Similarly, the end with mouth is oral end and opposite is aboral end. Axis and plane. In bilateral animals, there is a hypothetical lines along body center. This is known as axis. The axis pass away from head to tail is called the longitudinal axis. Another is is called the transverse axis that passes transversely in the body. The entire body of bilateral animals can be divided into three planes, such as frontal planes, sagittal planes, and transverse plane. Any of the vertical planes perpendicular to the sagittal plane that passes through the body, separating the upper and underside, is called the frontal plane actually. Now, the another very important basis of classification, that is the notochord. What is notochord? First of all, you have to know about it. The notochord is a flexible rod like semi-rigid structure found in embryos of all higher animals, composed of cells derived from the mesoderms and enclosed by fibrous sheath. And on the basis of the presence or absence of the notochord, animal may be divided into two types. Non-chordates. Non-chordates are those animals which don't have any notochords, and these are mainly found in the invertebrate animals like arthropods, porifera, nidaria, phylums, and, and because this phylum, the animal of this phylum don't have any notochords. And the chordate means the animals which have the notochord. For example, Labiorota is a chordate animal because they have the notochord. Vertebral column is another very important basis of classification that will be discussed here today. Uh, what is vertebral column? The vertebral column is the defining characteristics of a vertebrates in which the notochord replaces segmental series of bone vertebrae separated by intervertebral disc. Actually, vertebra in case of chordate animals, uh, the notochord is during the adult stage. The notochord is actually replaced by the bony structure which is called the vertebral column. And on the presence or absence of the vertebral column, animal may be divided into two types. Number one, invertebrate, and they don't have any vertebral column. That's why they are called the invertebrate. Most of the uh, animals like insects or arthropods, Annelida, Nidaria, Mollusca, Echinodermata phylums are mainly under the invertebrate animals. On the basis of the vertebral column, the vertebrate means the notochord is actually replaced by the bony structure vertebrae during the adult stage, and for example, the Labiorota is one of the example of the vertebrate animal. Now the classifications. Classification is the ordering of similar organisms into groups on the basis of the relationship. Principle of classification: category arrangement, taxonomical characteristics, nomenclature, preservation, and identification. These are the principle of classifications. Category arrangement. There are 7 categories in animal kingdoms, which are the kingdoms, uh, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. The linear hierarchy, arranging various taxonomic categories in their proper order on the basis of their taxonomic rank, is called the taxonomic hierarchy or linear hierarchy. And the species is the lowest rank of the taxonomic hierarchy and is the basic unit of the classification. According to Ernest Mayr, 1969, species are group of interbreeding natural population that are reproductively isolated from other such group. Subspecies. Due to wide ranges of distribution, two or more isolated populations or subspecies may be arise from a species which have some morphological differences. A subspecies is a taxonomic subdivision of a species consisting of an interbreeding, usually geographically isolated population of organisms. Now, the taxonomical characteristics. Nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature. The binomial nomenclature is a system of naming animals by means of two Latin names, the first indicating the genus and the second the species to which the organism belongs. Such name is called a binomial name or bioname or a scientific name. According to this rule, the scientific name of man is Homo sapiens, where Homo denotes generic name and the sapiens denotes species name. Now the trinomial nomenclature. Trinomial nomenclature refers to names for taxa below the rank of special. This name has three parts. Only one rank is allowed below the rank of species. For example, Panthera leo persica found in India is one of the subspecies of lion species Panthera leo found in Africa. Now the preservation and finally the identification. Now the usefulness of classification. Acquiring knowledge about animal kingdom, identification, pest control, producing of quality animal, identification of economically beneficial animal. Now the teamwork. Group A, write down the dissimilarities between two above animals. Group B, write down the symmetry found in the above animals. Evaluation. Dr. Hassan took an apple to eat. At that time, his three friends came. Dr. Hassan divided the apple into four equal halves and gave one piece for each one of his friends. Mr. W said, by a special process on the dividing a body of an animal with the imaginary plane, the animal kingdom is classified into different groups. He added that space between elementary canal and the body wall also an important factor to classify the animal kingdom. A. What is basis of classification? B. What is mean by metamerism? C. Explain the special process mentioned in the stem. D. Analyze the last statement of Mr. W. Now the homework. Draw the pictures of different types of symmetry. Thanks for your patient sharing. I think today's lecture was very much effective lecture for all of us. I am requesting you all to listen my video lecture or to watch my video lecture for several times so that you can understand each and every topics that have already discussed here today. If you have any queries regarding my today's lecture, feel free to ask me, or you can also ask your respective subject teacher regarding your query. Thank you, everybody. Thank you all.